So, welcome to the Sacred Masculine podcast. Welcome, Thomas. And this is something which we're just inspired to have a conversation because as I meet inspiring men around the world, I notice that I have conversations with them which I really want to record. And I think the voice of, I'm not going to say that you are the healthy masculine. I don't think any of us can quite have that title, but there is a healthiness and an integrity to you, which really inspires me. And especially at your young age, you're in your 30s, I believe. Yeah.
31.
31. And there's something about you. I know you, Thomas, as a monk and as a very real world monk. You have your own sadhana, you're um, a very structured spiritual practice, and you're very dedicated to that. And we have the connection through the tea, also through the puer. But we've had conversations where there's just something really different about you. And this is something that I want to bring into this conversation, that I feel that you see everything, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the picture that I have of you is the way I want to introduce you is a man that sees everything as a spiritual practice. So you're not so much in the monk that you are like, oh, this is the only way to practice spirituality. You also you relate with women. And this is something that we're going to get into in this podcast about how we as men can use our relationships with women or with men, but our relationship to the feminine to become better versions of ourselves, become self-realized. How can we use our relating with the feminine to guide us towards self-realization? So we met in Portugal not so long ago, and I don't have so much space for new connections with men, and I have been wanting to nurture my connection with you because I'm inspired by you. So, who are you, Thomas?
Who are you? Who am I? I'm a 31-year-old male right now here in Goa for the last week. And I've been since about age 21, so that's a good decade ago. I switched from seeking for my happiness in all kinds of places where I didn't really find it, and more destructive places by the end. My spiritual journey before that started at 21, I was a big raver, staying awake for nights in a row on
Me
cocktails of
too.
substances. Yeah,
Yeah.
many of us, I think, in the spiritual scene. There is something there also that you already discover, like a kind of high, kind of
Mm.
glimpse of how much love you can feel. For example, if you take MDMA, that there's
Oh yeah.
definitely has been some kind of a first awakening for me.
Mm.
But it became more and more destructive. I was really looking for I was looking to how far can I go? And I didn't see a way out of the suffering I was carrying from unresolved stuff from my childhood.
Mm.
That
Mm.
it was really like self-destructive, quite literally. It was almost
Yeah.
like maybe a kind of carelessness if something bad would happen to me. And but at some point the drugs were not helping anymore as well. In fact, they made everything worse. When I was during the week waiting for the next party weekend, I was just,
Mm.
anxious, depressed. Probably if you would have sent me to a psychologist at the time, you would have probably could have had like a list of bipolar, depressed, addicted, agoraphobia, like social anxiety. Just like I was such a nut on all levels. And then a video came to me on YouTube on meditation, and it really resonated straight away, because what I learned is there's techniques to go inside the mind to resolve suffering. And it was very clear for me that my mind was making me suffer. And so that there was a way to close your eyes and go inside, and that has been working for monks for a few thousand years. That immediately caught my attention. So shortly after, I booked a one-way flight to Bangkok, Thailand, and I stepped my first foot inside a monastery and had 3 very, very challenging days. Coming off of my nicotine addiction, probably with still a slight hangover, and absolutely having no sense that the meditation was working. And then on day 3 or 4, I had a little mini awakening, which was very mundane in a way, but it was a moment of peace, something settling in me. I was sitting in the Buddha hall. I'd kind of given up at that point. I would leave in 1 or 2 days anyways. It wasn't working. And in that giving up, I probably relaxed something in my striving. And that was an opening for a first awakening. And I tasted that there was peace possible without substance, which I didn't really know, and without anything really. And that was very profound. It opened a new perception. It, of course, didn't stay, but it stayed with me for a few days, a few weeks. And that was really the start for a lot of spiritual seeking. First, with a little bit more doubt. Is this really a route I can take? Because no one was doing that around me. But then slowly, as I did it again, and I saw what it did to me, the next meditation retreat, I saw that the impact was huge. And that all of a sudden, I had the epiphany to stop drinking alcohol, which seemed impossible to me. But from one day to the next, I quit. So that whole path started to
How old
draw
were
me
you
in.
when you quit?
23, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. It was from
Yeah.
one day to the next. I had a hangover in a hostel. It was 2 weeks after a meditation retreat. I had drunk again. And I woke up with a very bad hangover and I was depressed. I didn't want to leave my room. And all of a sudden, it just landed for me like, this is not serving you at all. Like, you don't want this. Your night wasn't even fun. You spent too much money. You had a shit night with no connection. You feel horrible right now. You have agoraphobia, social anxiety, all these things that you always feel when you wake up. And so it was all of a sudden, it became very clear, and I would attribute that to the meditation, that there was insight. I could see it wasn't serving me. Before I didn't see it. Now I, capital S, saw that. And so the quitting was very effortless. And that insight came like that was also very, it showed me the power of meditation, you know. So slowly I learned that I could actually take this path as a fuller orientation of my life. That took still a little bit longer. And at some point I started to meet people that also kind of did that. And yeah, that was kind of the turning point for me to become a full-time spiritual practitioner, seeker, and slowly also guide, quite early on, actually, upon invitation. So this is a bit my journey.
I would say very early on, and this is something that really inspires me about the younger generation, because when I first started on the spiritual journey, I was already 32. So, and it still took me a couple of years to stop drinking. And not that you have to stop drinking to be in a spiritual practice. I mean, anybody who knows David Data, or like he went through quite a process with his spiritual master, who made him drink, made him go to strip clubs, made him do everything that was outside of his idea of what was being a yogi, because he was so structured in his yogi, to have him experience God in everything. So I want to make that clear. We're not saying here that you have to quit anything actually to be spiritual. I just want to honor your journey there. Like, wow, you had this epiphany already at 23, sitting in a hostel, this moment where you're like, okay, this is not serving me. And it seems to be the awareness, right? The awareness. You have such an awareness, like you're this silent, that I saw you at the Portugal Tantra Festival. I see you just in general. You're very aware with your flask of pu'er tea always. Yeah, there's a lot of awareness. And I see you as someone who carries yourself very, very well. And you run, I mean, you do your own work in this field, and you guide other people. And one of the things that we're going to talk about today is relationships. And now, I know for me, relationships can be the place which are more challenging, because if I'm by myself and I'm meditating by myself, everything's in its order. There's nothing that's knocking me off, right? I get in relationship and then suddenly I'm challenged, whether it's with my kids, Like if there's anyone to challenge my spirituality, it's my children and my partner.
Mm.
So the feminine. Tell me about your
Mhm.
relationship to the feminine, because
My
meditation
relationship with the feminine.
is a very masculine thing, right? Meditation is the
Yeah.
masculine. It creates the
Yeah.
ability, or my understanding, maybe you have a different understanding, an ability to hold the feminine in myself and the feminine, which is life, everything that fills the space on the outside, to not lose my shit,
Yeah.
to hold myself together, and to stay calm in the chaos. What's your experience with the feminine?
Yeah, I can speak about what it is right now. I can also what I noticed in this kind of, it is a perfect question to continue the timeline,
Mm,
because I noticed that after my third meditation retreat, which happened when I was about 24, I had a very strong experience. It was also because of build-up of a lot of personal practice at that time, taking my practice at home very seriously. So 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening, and then doing a 10-day, for the first time, a Goenka Vipassana. My retreats
mm,
before were in the Thai forest tradition with local Thai
mm,
small monasteries. Now it was with the Goenka 10-day famous, notorious Vipassana retreats. And I had a very, very powerful shift in consciousness there. A lot of healing, a lot of awareness opened up, a lot of a deep realization how I really, really was not my mind.
mm,
With that came also the like immediately that also showed me that there was a lot of shame and guilt that I could let go of, because I had always been doing things and saying things from a conditioned mind.
mm.
So yeah, so it was very strong. And then I came shortly after. I had traveled for 2 years at that time, and I came back to Amsterdam, where I'm from, and I was electric, like blowing, like just radiating with life force and awareness. Still, like four days out of that retreat, maybe. And I had immediately gotten a job as a barista somewhere, because I had all my money had finished, and I was back from India and I needed to work. And a girl walks in on the second day that I worked there, stunning, beautiful, very feminine, radiant woman. And as soon as we kind of have contact, so much moves inside both of us. And we meet that very same day in the park. It was summer. And we just have spent 3 hours kind of eye gazing to each other, being mesmerized with each other. I had never really heard about Tantra or David Data, or no one taught me anything about this. It was not my first relationship, but this was the first time I was like, wow, it was so beautiful, so profound for both of us. She already said this was tantric. Um, so that was very blissful. It very quickly afterwards also brought up all my shadows, which were at the time mostly shadows of unworthiness. So after about 2, 3 weeks of bliss, I became more and more shaky around her, more and more like, oh, how long is she gonna still like me? I became less and less of myself, more and more tight. And it didn't take very long for that relationship to kind of implode, because there was such a deep belief in me that I wasn't really that's such a beautiful woman, that I wasn't really worthy of it, you know.
Yeah.
So after that, it was like I was like, fuck, like what happened? This was so beautiful, and I feel so much that I cannot be in a way that I can healthily stay in such a powerful relationship. What
Mm,
is that? And so shortly after I had a first experience with men's work, I felt drawn to Lorenkren when he wasn't so famous yet.
oh wow.
It was
Yeah.
it was before he got famous, and I worked with him at the time for 4 sessions, and that was the first time that I had a man, and I must say that's kind of key. I had a man explain me a few things that understood women better than myself, how
Right.
women worked, and that was already a lot of things shifted there for me, and my relationships afterwards were much better. I was much more myself, much more confident, and ever since it has been a journey of actually learning from a few more mentors, whether in one-on-one or sometimes through a book like David Deda's, how to be in my own self as a man and how to relate to the feminine and understand her. Because there's a lot to understand about women that you won't learn just by focusing on yourself. There are things happening in her body, in her psyche, in her genes that are like really different.
Yes.
So my relationship to the feminine is that, and I feel right now, this is what we spoke of a little bit before this conversation. I feel that the younger version of myself could have been helped if, instead of trying to get women, instead of trying to be liked by women, instead of trying to be something for women, if he just understood that he could just focus on his own development in the first place, his own healing, without doing that for women, which I kind of had done also with meditation stuff. And if he can learn to stop trying to get something from her, focus on how can I love her, which I think is the essence for me of what I shifted in my relationship to the feminine and how I view it now. If you can focus on how to love her, that is a huge shift in how you're going to feel, in how she's going to feel. And also you will receive the world from her if you truly love her.
Why does this create such a shift to just love it? It sounds really simple, no? Because many of us have been in relationships, right? Yeah, I just love this person. However, when is it that love becomes an active thing rather than just I just love this person? When is it that we have to make a conscious choice to love this person? And when is it that you see that this, isn't love just natural? Where does it become an active thing where we're actually making a choice?
I think to do this, this is why I feel that men really need to meditate. I don't think you can just come to relationship work without this, without meditation and presence practice. Because yes, there is love, but there's also so much self-serving stuff in your relationship to the feminine, to the world. And your awareness, your ability to expand your mind out in 360 peripheral kind of awareness and to see all these thought bubbles inside of you that are less than let me be careful with that word, for lack of a better word, less than pure, selfish, egoic. You have to spot all of those because those stand in the way of you being able to love her. It's all the things inside you that want to get something from her. It's all the ways in which you are looking at yourself through her, trying to manipulate the image you display to her. It's just like, for example, a good example how this practically looks. I had this summer, as you know, I had a very, very powerful relationship with a woman, with a very powerful woman, and she shook and made shake everything inside of me, made vibrate everything inside of me. When I met her for the first time after I had met her and had asked her out, that she was a yes to, I remember driving up to the place where we would meet, a beach, and I remember I was getting a bit nervous. I want this to be good. I can be in my full calm around her. And the thought that really grounded me just before I met her, I was like, oh, stop this kind of nonsense compassionately. But this is like, it's fine, but this is not the train of thought that you need to be stuck in. She is here too, wanting to meet you. She is here also looking for her own evolution in relating to a man. She's open to meet me as a man. She trusts me to meet me now. And there's something also for her in this. I can play a role in her life that will be healing, that will be helpful, that will be nourishing. And how beautiful, how much do I want to be able to be that for her? And so, for example, these kind of shifts, I feel are very powerful in relating to the feminine because they make you confident. They give her this kind of safety, which she needs. She needs much more safety than us for so many reasons that like a list of reasons and more than I can even understand probably. So a lot of this about being that, being
So
unfortunately this exceptional safety for her in the world where so much unsafe masculinity is around also for
this is a
females.
great topic. And
Yeah.
because what happens if we're not conscious of that, and we're not conscious of choosing to love someone and to be a positive influence in their life, then what happens?
Could you
What's the
repeat
other
that?
side? What's the other side if we're not this loving, safe um, experience for somebody, a healing,
Yeah.
a healing symbol in their life, and we're
Mm.
not bringing this positive essence to them, then what do we bring to them?
Hmm. Ah, well, I'm not a saint. I've also been in relationships where I was less than loving
Me
that
too.
were very deep learning experiences. And what does that do? Well, it will just perpetuate, all the unhealthy dynamics between men and women that there are plenty of. She will leave with similar amounts of feelings, or if not more, that men are all the same, are not to be trusted,
Yeah.
that there are no good men around. She might even be traumatized by it. She might have a hard time
Mm-hmm.
opening up to future men.
Yeah.
And which is just really sad because, if we learn how to love each other, because not just men loving women, it's women loving men too in our own sometimes unique ways.
and and men loving men and women loving women. I'm not meaning in a specific sexual context, but um kind of what I'm getting at here, and I just have to own that I
Mm,
was a bit leading with that question, is that we have the person who is most aware has such a responsibility for a relationship, because when you look at pickup culture, right, and all these tricks, let's use all these tricks to pick up women. This is the man being more conscious than the woman, but it's also manipulation. And I
mm,
have also manipulated situations and manipulated women to get what I want. I I do not have the view that only women do this. Men and women do this because we all have the masculine and feminine inside. And I think what's important, or what's been important for me on this journey, is also to, because I come from a family of women, and I come from a world where the masculine was not there. My father was not there. There was no healthy models of men in my family. And so I was probably the biggest man hater. And I speak
mm.
about this in other podcasts, the biggest man hater, covert. I didn't realize how much I mistrusted. And now I lead men's retreats, which is like, and do men's work, because this is part of my journey to fall in love with the masculine in the outside and in me again. And what I see is like, if I have the most consciousness, which you're speaking about is through meditation, if I have the most consciousness, then I can choose the path of this relationship. Now, what I ended up doing, and maybe you also know this, is at some point I placed her happiness and her safety and her um, feeling of being loved as more important than my own. And I still need to be aware of this, because then what I do is I abandon myself. And so there's a
Mhm,
whole other
mhm,
dynamic that comes in there. However, what I feel that you're talking about really beautifully is this: wow, if I make this really conscious, how I'm going to love this woman, and I can do it in a way where I don't leave myself, what kind of effect can that have on the woman? And what kind of effect, because this woman that we're talking about is also a mother. And so, what kind of effect can have on her as a mother? What kind of effect can this have on her and how she expresses herself in the world? And what kind of ripple effect? Because it's not just about you and this woman, right? Like, what kind of ripple effect does this have when we can love a woman fully?
mm. Yeah. Well, but what you say, I think also part of loving a woman fully, uh, um, will ideally come with and beyond men and women, loving will ideally come also with a kind of sharp awareness where you're also sensitive to the BS coming from your partner, not just your own, but also the BS from your partner. So if a woman, like ideally a woman would receive your love from a very healthy place and it would nourish her and there would be a circulation. Less ideally, a woman would maybe have old princess patterns, old entitlement patterns inside of her, you know, and so if you are not aware of that happening inside of her, and you are now pouring your love to those more shadowy parts of her, that there's no more love happening already at the moment. Now you're stuck in unconsciousness together.
Trauma binding.
Yeah, so it would ideally, you would love her by having sharp awareness to be able to spot it, to check in together if that might be playing out before you straight away project it as a truth, and then see if you can together find your way out of it. So, because I think that's the part of relationship where you help each other to become conscious. This is yoga in and of itself also. This is meditation, this is Buddhism, this is all this Tantra, it's all the same thing, because we are working with, you know, the samskaras, the vasanas, the shadows, whatever you want to call it, seed pains in our mind that are unconscious, and the relationship can bring them to the surface to be seen. That's also part of loving, to bring them to the surface. And so this is maybe a fuller picture of what love can bring to both individuals, what it will create in each other, because everyone will be better left off with less of their own unconsciousness, with less of their shadow. Everyone is better off with less shadow and feeling more loved.
Absolutely. And it's very easy to, like, through my coaching of men and through my own experience, it's very easy to put everything on the woman. Like when all the shit starts coming up, the honeymoon period is over, all the shit starts coming up, it's like, whoa, hold on a minute. I had this beautiful woman. I had this amazing, sexy, feminine woman. Now she's complaining all the time, like whatever your story is. But this is what I hear the most. Now she's like looking at things that I'm doing wrong all the time. It's not as juicy anymore. Like for me, this is the time where, okay, am I going to choose love here as well? Am I going to choose love for myself? And am I going to choose love for the relationship? But how can I look at what is coming up here, and how much of it is her and how much of it is me? And how do I love? Because I don't think it's just about loving her also, right? It's like, oh, how can I love myself when all my shit starts coming up? Because it's very easy to be like, this is all yours. And sometimes it is, right? This is also important to say that sometimes it is the other person's stuff coming up, and it's got nothing to do with us apart from where the trigger. But if we're both triggered, now we're both in the sandpit. Our inner children are there together, and it's very hard, because I've had men come to me and say, like, how can I love her when she's been like this, and this? What would you answer to that?
It depends, right? If she might be not nice to you because you're also not nice to her, right? And so if that's the case, it might be your perfect mirror. She might also be not nice to you because she's just really being, not dealing with you very consciously. So how to deal with that is to have, to somehow have a good awareness and gut instinct and intuition and I mean, these are already dangerous words, but to
I'm trying to drag you into some dangerous waters here.
If she is being really unpleasant to you, and it's basically her just being in a mood that has nothing to do with you, projecting it onto you. I mean, the most loving thing you can do is to either lovingly call her back into more of her alignment, or to remove yourself temporarily or entirely if there's no change at all.
Right.
Yeah. I feel also this for me a very clear one. I feel like a sacred relationship is a continuous cleaning up whenever stuff comes to the surface. And I've also
Right.
seen situationships where similar patterns just keep coming back, keep coming back, keep coming back. And sometimes you feel clearly that they are not yours, that they are from the other. I've had moments where this became crystal clear for me. And in those moments, I think it's very important that the sacred relationship does not perpetuate things for endlessly. So there's going to be a time-bound limit, which of course cannot be defined exactly. So this is where words of intuition and maybe some deeper guidance come into place. But there's a moment of having to remove yourself, because there's no, you cannot spiral in the mud endlessly. It's not good for anyone. Yeah. Ideally, you solve it together. But it's not always easy, right? Some of these shadows are really fucking deep and unconscious and old and multi-generational. And sometimes even fed, I find, by pop psychology, neo-tantra, Instagram stuff, because some of the stuff you see coming, that you see online, that gets loads of likes, not all of it is healthy advice as well, but it can resonate with people.
Oh my God. I'm like, wow, if people, yeah. Plus what happens is the whole algorithm starts to show you stuff that feeds your particular worldview anyway, you know? But I see a very polarized view. Like what I'm seeing more of is women calling women out, actually, which is really beautiful. And men calling men out. I think this is more important, that we do the work. You know, as you know, I run a retreat, rites of passage, and rites of passage is men working together, and then the initiatress is women working together, and we work on our own shit. This is not complaining about the women or the women complaining about the men. This is about how can we look at our own conditioning and our own shadows, and then when we come together, meet from a more healthy place. And you know, men come to this retreat thinking like, oh yeah, this is going to be really juicy because it's a tantra retreat. This is not about, for me, it's men's work is not about learning new things and new tricks and new ideas. It's about cleaning all the shit that is in the way of my lotus, right? That is in the way of me seeing the cleaning up the shit that's around my heart, basically. And I'm curious for you, what is some shit that's been around your heart? What is relationships? What kind of shadows have relationships shown for you? I'll also own some of mine, so you're not alone. But you know, what are some things that have been come up for you in the cleansing?
Good question. Well, I feel I just come out of half a year of really, really beautiful relating, you know, where left an imprint for both of us that, I mean, it wasn't free of shadow, but it was nothing that got very toxic for very long. The worst we got was, I'm very angry and upset right now. I need 3 minutes to come back to my loving heart. I want to only speak to you from a lovingness. So this is, I feel actually that there is a point, and I'm happy to answer you about shadows that I have had or that I might still have. But I feel there's also a point. I really believe in this, that you can relate to each other from quite a continuous, healthy place if you are both very attuned to what your nervous system feels like when it's relaxed versus agitated. If you both maintain super fucking strong the boundary, that you don't give each other poison, that you don't the poison on your tongue, the harsh words, the raising voice, the nastiness. So I feel those two things, to know your nervous system when it's calm and when it's triggered, combined with not giving each other the poison, but being able to keep that in, to speak about it, but not from it.
Yeah.
I feel we don't need to have all these dramatic relationship constellations all the time, where it's just constantly, you know, where we are constantly busy with the next shadow and the next shadow. I feel shadow work becomes quite a bit lighter from this place, where deep stuff comes up. It's gonna hurt. Your partner can hold space for you now. You might be crying, you might be raging, but yeah, you're not spiraling in shadows together anymore. I think this kind of relating is possible, and not by the end of a lifetime, not this like far away enlightenment that is hard to reach. No, I feel that's much more quickly available if people are devoted, practicing, and understand these things inside themselves. But if you want to know maybe juicy examples of my own channel.
No, I'm really, that was really beautiful the way you answered that. I think it gives a real clear picture that, again, we come back to awareness, and without the meditative practice, then we're just flailing in the dark, right? Well, like, I have no idea what's going on. Relationships are really confusing. So I would also strongly suggest to any man that wants to relate and wants to have better relationships, start fucking meditating. Start looking at you, sitting with yourself and looking at what comes up when you're not on your phone, when you're not going out getting drunk, when you're not watching porn, when you're not numbing yourself by watching sports or whatever it is you do to numb yourself. Sit in a room with yourself. You don't have to be in the Himalayas. You don't have to be in some beautiful monastery. You can do it right at home, in your bedroom, wherever, in someone else's bedroom, it doesn't matter. And to sit with yourself just for 30 minutes a day. Because I remember this really, I can't remember the name of the guy, but this man that I was listening to, and he was speaking about the practices, these masculine practices, the discipline of doing this every day is really important, because it gives us somewhere for the other work, the shadow work, to land. It gives us a solid ground for all of the other work that we're doing to land and to propagate, to grow. Without this, stuff is just not going to go in, and it's not going to stay.
No.
So we can be doing all kinds of tantra work, we can be doing all kinds of therapy, but without this ability to sit with oneself and sit with one's feminine. I mean, you know, my feminine, when I'm sit and she's like all over the place, my mind is like, poof, 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 you know, I have this with clients often when I'm trying to teach them meditation, because this is the first thing I teach them if they don't have a meditative practice already. And they're like, well, I don't think I'm doing it right, because when I sit down, everything gets really loud. And I'm like, exactly. This is meditation. It's not like, many people have this idea, and maybe you can speak into this before we go into your shadows. I'll give you some like, my understanding of meditation is that I had this idea that meditation was doing it right means that my mind stops. That's meditation. So if my mind hasn't stopped, I'm not doing it right. And I realized through my work with men and through my coaching, so many people have this idea. And I'm like, listen, take that off. The more you leave the moment and come back, the stronger your meditative practice will be. Not always, but it's like a muscle, right? You know, the more we expand and contract, the more we move that muscle, the more we work it. And the meditative muscle for me is, when my mind goes, bring it back. When my mind goes, bring it back. When I'm caught in my mind and I can't seem to pay attention to that, pay attention to that, pay attention to that. And that is meditation. And sometimes it can be fucking grueling, like walking through the mud.
Yes.
So maybe you can speak a little bit into this before you go into your shadows. What is your definition of meditation?
You really want to get to my shadows, huh?
Yeah. Just keep people listening, you know, for later. What's your definition? Because I know you have a strong meditative practice. And why is it so fucking important? Why is meditation such an important thing?
Well, I want to add to everything you just said that I feel this is also something for both men and women. I don't think men and women work well with the same practices all the time. But ultimately, both men and women, doesn't matter, just anyone with a human consciousness needs to develop the ability to observe your own mind and what are your motives behind everything you do and say all the time. And meditation, I mean, it's not like sitting in a meditation posture and focusing on your body or your breath is like the holy thing itself. No, it's just it's one of the greater tools we have to build that capacity to see into your own mind and into deeper and deeper layers of it, and to eventually be bringing that with you all the time. Because also when sitting here, I know we both, well, let's just speak for me. There is a constant, like, something that I cultivate to keep alive, that is constantly checking in. Am I still speaking from my heart, from my truth, or is there something else being entertained in the background? Do I now all of a sudden filter something? Do I want to be perceived in a certain way? You know, they can be subtle things. So it constantly has been brought with us. I feel that's one aspect of it. And meditation does a lot more things, because, as you say, also to sit with yourself in a moment, just, you know, getting bored and stuff. I had some of my greatest spiritual healing moments, periods, where I always keep meditating, always formally, even if it's just 5 minutes or 10 minutes. But I've had some of my deeper healings where I would sit myself down at this strange time of the day that is maybe 3:30 p.m., 4:30 p.m. on a weekday, where all of a sudden you don't know anymore what to do with your next 2 hours. And then you feel a bit strange, you don't feel so good in your body. And then to sit down on a couch with just a glass of water, not slouched, still sit a bit straight up, just go stare at the wall in front of you and see what comes up. And if there is no peace there, good. And I know that this practice repeatedly, sometimes more than my morning meditation practice, but I must say it came only after years that this practice became kind of relevant, that to do this has brought up incredible blockages and knots and unresolved pain. I was, by the end of doing this for a period, I was embarrassed to see my neighbors, because they heard me scream all the time. I also I kind of half consciously, half automatically also let these things out during the time. It was just screaming, like,
emotional release, which is also, I feel, an important practice, because there is an idea, like, you know, and this I had in the beginning as well. And look, I feel very fortunate that I went to the Osho resort in Pune, and Osho had a very clear idea that meditation is not just about sitting in silence, and that Western people, we have such a mind going on that we need to do something active to release the mind, to dissolve the mind, to give the mind something to do, so that we can sit in meditation. And this was my experience, you know, doing dynamic meditation, shouting and screaming and throwing all the anger out and breathing really heavily, like a super active meditation, in order to get to the peace.
Yes.
And so I'm really happy to hear that you also felt like in your meditative practice, sometimes you just have to let this stuff out. We're not just being stoic and like keep everything in. Because what happens if we just try and meditate everything away?
I would say I do have something to say about it, because I do sometimes see that because I started my journey with just silent sitting. Now people know me as a yoga teacher, maybe things around intimacy, but I started with just seated meditation, and that did the first heavy lifting in my spiritual work for me. And I sometimes see this idea in modern tantra, like, or not in modern tantra actually, in modern spirituality, almost being made fun of to just meditate things away. And then I always feel like the people should be reminded that, or especially the tradition of Buddhism has been very powerful at keeping the meditation tradition alive. They have been producing highly developed beings for the past 2,500 years, generation after generation after generation after generation. They don't do any emotional release. But it makes a lot of sense to do that when you have less time, when you're not immediately wanting to do a 10-day meditation retreat.
You don't have 6 hours a day to meditate. And then,
but I would still highly recommend anyone to, at some point in your life, I would say everyone do it. Try to do it once a year, a 5-day silent retreat at least. Just once a year, you know. I promise it will improve everything.
Yeah.
If not, talk to me.
And here's the
Yeah.
question, because I don't want it to sound like I'm making fun of silent sitting, because I can think of times where I would do, and I had a lot of shit that I had to get out. So for me, just sitting in stillness, I don't think for me at that time in my life would have brought me to the place. I don't know, but
Yeah.
for me, doing something active and then afterwards, so I would do an hour of dynamic meditation in the morning, where there is some stillness and silence in that moment. Like there's 15 minutes of that, um, total stillness, total silence. But then I would do an hour of silent sitting afterwards. And sometimes I would reach places which I had only ever experienced through copious amounts of drug taking.
Right.
And I can still remember moments where I would walk out of the silent sitting just in a place that I could not explain. Something had shifted, and it was literally bliss,
Mm.
and it cost me nothing. I didn't have to spend money. I didn't have to spend energy. It was just wow. Now, it wasn't always like that. Sometimes I would come out and I would be like deeply disturbed because my mind is going on and I've got some relationship. But what you were talking about was through meditation, we can have a deeper observance of ourselves and our motives and and how does this help us in relationship? Why is this important? Why can't we just go through life not caring?
Yeah, I would like to maybe just add one more thing to that meditation thing, because what you said and the bliss that comes and the deeper
Yeah.
experiences, I think that a true spiritual journey, it should include an interest in trying to at some point reach samadhi states or
Yeah.
jhanas, where you are entering in absorption, and that is not to get high.
Mm.
I hold silent retreats and often remind people, why are we meditating? It's not to get high here. You will get
Kind
high,
of a
but it's
side
really not the
effect.
point. Yeah, but it really is. It really should be seen
Yeah.
like that, because it's not going to stay. It's not sustainable.
No.
What we're really doing here is, if you enter absorption, in which your mind really indeed quiets down temporarily,
Yeah. Yeah.
the purpose of that is it gives access to these deeper seeds in your mind that you otherwise don't have access to. So that's the
Mm-hmm.
whole purpose of meditative absorption and striving for that. And it seems that that requires absolute stillness to get there. You
Mm.
don't need to be there in a cave for the rest of your life. So I think it's really important that sometimes people don't understand about meditation, and it's not always clearly explained. And how that helps in relationship, it's just, you're not gonna, I think a lot of people listening to this, I imagine, will be people that have thought about ideas of reaching God through sex, maybe have a relationship and love, maybe have this idea, picked it up somewhere, are curious in that. And I feel that you only can reach that. It is reachable. Absolute, absolute. I don't have words for that.
Yes,
With
I agree.
another.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just beyond, 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 beyond. And it's shared. And that requires you both to be in such pristine, clear, lucid, open-heartedness, and that can happen. And if you want to sustain that, because it's easy sometimes to have that for a little bit, if you want to sustain that for a period of weeks, months, years, you both will need to have that wide perception of your own mind, that you can already see that somewhere in the background it begins to nag, that old little trigger, that insecurity, that anger, that meanness, that fear, and that you see it already bubbling to the surface, and that you can already speak it out to your partner in this open field of awareness that you are together, that this is
Mm.
bubbling somewhere. And because you already see it, and because there's no shame to express it, everything
Mm.
stays in the light, and you're together in the light. And if it comes up stronger and it begins to really hurt again in your body, and makes you visit places that are very painful from maybe your childhood or recent experiences, and to then be able to hold each other in love in these places, that is the whole alchemy, I feel, of relationship. And you That's sacred relating, and that's only possible when two people come together with a lot of awareness. And I would say that awareness is not just from meditation, because I think if someone would just meditate, a good meditation teacher, a good meditator would do that, then would explain that with, or would do the practice with also actively observing what is the content of my mind. So this, it can be done sitting closed, with eyes closed, but this is also what people do when they go to therapy. This is also what people do when they journal. This is also what people do when they talk to friends and they try to make sense of the experiences that are happening to them. You have to be aware of the content of your mind. That's part of meditation. The silence gives you access to all the content of your mind. And the motive behind the motive behind the motive that you never had before fully understood about yourself. So why is this important? I think I summed it up there. You need that awareness to have full vision over all the contents of your mind. And from that place, you can begin to choose and work with and cultivate and release. You can choose the positive, the beautiful ones, the loving parts, and you can begin to slowly release and let go all the stuff that is harmful. This is not about striving for purity to become a saint because we judge ourselves, but we don't want to be harmful people, right? We don't want to be harmed.
Yeah.
So that's basically what this is about. We all want love, health, connection, love. This is why we purify. Not to become saints, but because we believe in a beautiful life, in a beautiful, loving earth.
The way I see it is like when both people are doing this, it can take us to a place, to a depth and to a height, which is just before inconceivable. And I also want to name, for me, I went through a period where I thought I had to be perfect, and I thought I'm not allowed to say things wrong. And, I would judge myself for that then. And, I sit in meditation and I judge myself for not saying things correctly or coming with a bit of a nasty tone, or, maybe I didn't catch it. And I want to make sure that everybody listening knows that this is not about right or wrong. It's always a process. We're always in this process of becoming and becoming better. And I think the most important thing, and this is something I teach in my retreats and also in coaching, is like, wow, take ownership for where you don't have to give yourself a hard time or someone else a hard time. It's like, okay, I spoke to you in this tone. You've called me on it. I see now that I did speak to you from a place that was not loving. I can own that. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I hurt you. Maybe a part of me did want to hurt you. It's got nothing to do with you. It's to do with my past. And if we don't have access to this stuff, we can't have these conversations. And then I'm always going to be in shame for, I spoke to you like that. And now I need to cover up why I spoke to you like that and blame it on you so that I don't have to look at my action. And once I became aware of all these dynamics going on, I can't sit having someone else believing that it's their fault when I know that it's my stuff. I just can't. So then it becomes like not about, okay, now I give myself shit and I give myself a hard time for not being perfect. It's just like, hey, I was imperfect there and I'm sorry I hurt you. And then the other person can say like, wow, I'm also imperfect and I've done the same thing, or I see that in myself. Thank you for owning it. It gives such permission.
So important
for both people to be imperfect, rather than this striving for perfection and I'm going to call you out where you're not perfect. No. If we can just look at where am I imperfect and where are you imperfect, we can do our own work together. This is what I think is the most important. When we can do our own work and share that work with each other, then it becomes such a beautiful vehicle for finding bliss together, healing together, not finding ways to love more, but removing the things that are in the way from the love that is already there.
Yes. I think also what you spoke into now is like the topic of given that you both are doing your best and are actually trying to be conscious, that then there is that you have to make so much space for constant forgiveness also for all
Yeah.
the stuff that's less than perfect.
Yeah.
And being able to apologize for your shit, which is also hard to do for many people because they feel when they do something wrong, there's something wrong with them. No, you're
Yeah.
born human, you're born flawed. There's nothing wrong with that. You will be
And we
flawed.
pick up even more flaws from our parents and their parents and the parents before them. A lot of the
Yes,
stuff that we're dealing with in relationship is not even ours. And we take
yes,
responsibility for it. And this happens a lot in my coaching with couples is people are blaming themselves for a pattern that was given to them by their parents. And it's like, hey,
yes. It makes no
you know,
sense.
no, can we just like understand that we're in a relationship like there's a guy called Terry Real who I really love on like he's this guy's 300 years old or something. He's got so much wisdom, and he's like, we marry our unfinished business. We get together with our unfinished business. So anything that we need to heal is going to come up in the relationship, and it's going to be shown to us by our relationship and by our partner. And so actually it's a gift. Can we see it as a gift?
Mm, mm,
This conflict is a gift in some way.
mm.
And how can I use that to, yeah, how can I use that to accelerate my growth?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree. And I think also in addition to that, to be careful that we don't romanticize, which I've observed happening quite a bit, also in conscious
I've never done
relationship,
that.
conscious relationship teaching. And no, me neither. Never.
Yeah.
Um, and to romanticize um, all the shit you go through together,
Yeah.
and that in combination with having very few strong examples of people that are really really powerfully loving with each other
Mm.
consistently without swimming and rolling in the mud all the time together.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to be aspire for that, to
Mm.
be at least then, if that's what's been normal. I believe that we can have relationships that are so much more powerful than and loving consistently than what we've been seeing almost everywhere. Yeah.
Mm.
So people are often, it's with many things we look at what's normal,
Mm.
what's common, and it's indeed very common that people are not loving with each other.
Mm.
It's very common that couples argue. Does it
Yeah.
mean that we should also become couples that argue often,
Mm.
frequently, a lot? I don't see it like that at all. I strive for something very different with
Mm.
anyone I'm in loving intimacy. I don't want to argue. Yeah, we can be mad at each other for a few minutes, but that's already more than enough to find out that, like, hey, I'm triggered. Let me not speak to you
Mm.
from this place. It's been already 3 minutes of being angry. Let's pause.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So this is for me, yeah, a big one, a big one. Yeah, I feel, you know, it's important why we have these conversations also, because this is
Yeah.
real sacred relating is just kind of kind of mostly unseen in the world.
Yeah, it's unconscious. I
Yeah,
mean, I think of how many
yeah,
relationships I got into, and I'm just like, yeah, because I'm horny and I really want to have sex with this woman, and yeah, I enjoy being around her, and yeah, we have fun, and now, but an actual conscious. I think this is the first conscious relationship that I've had where I'm actually really. I've had conscious loverships, but conscious
mm,
relationships where I'm like,
mm,
no, this is my vehicle to
mm.
self-realization. Whether I
That's
get
a
there before I
beautiful.
die, I don't know. But this relationship is, I am in this because I see in this field, in the field of sacred sexuality and tantra, there's so much, polyamory, open relating, situationships, and there's a lot of beauty in that, and there's also a lot of pain in there. And I'm seeing more and more couples, and I'm inspired by more and more couples who are choosing relationships. It's okay, they can open the relationship at some point, but I don't have a judgment of that. But they're doing it really consciously. It's not to avoid. It's not uh, it's not to avoid some difficulty that's happening in their relationship. They're doing it from a positive place. And these couples I'm really inspired by. But couples who are like, no, we're closing the container, we're doing this together, not to shut out any shadows. So, oh no, I'm just going to commit to this so I don't have to deal with my shit. It's like, no, we're going to do this together. We're going to look at our shit together, and we're going to look at how parts of us want to go and relate with other people because we think we can't find it in the relationship. And I think these deep commitments to keep coming back to love and to keep coming back to the relationship until such point as both people are like, no, we've done the work that we needed to do together. Now it's time to move on. How many relationships I've been in where I've cheated or they've cheated because we didn't know how to end the relationship, or we didn't know how to look at what was really missing in the relationship. And there's so much power in that. And I understand that you're in a relationship now, which is, yeah, has a real intentional aspect to it. And I'm wondering if you might want to speak into, what's going on for you there.
Sure. We didn't even get to my
You managed to
yet.
escape the shadows.
Yeah. Still very happy to answer any questions about that, by the way.
Yeah, maybe we do another
truly,
podcast
honestly,
about shadows. Yeah.
And I want to hear about yours too.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to say also to you that I so much find you and Amanda such an inspiration together. Also, you're such a beautiful couple together. It's really beautiful. I know you hear this a lot, but let me just say it also again one more time. It's really, really beautiful how you also set an example together of it. I find it very brave how you both also share some of the things with the world, and I've actually been really helped myself at some point to listen to one of your podcasts on how you relate with each other and the difficulties that had come up for you that I could so much relate to. So thank you for the work you do, and I hope you keep shining so much together.
I do.
So about my current, well, it's very new actually. The container has been only such a stupid word sometimes, by the way, container. We have decided to be exclusive, but it's also very fresh. So it was a relevant moment to actually speak about: do we want to relate further with openness here, or do we want to be with each other? And we both felt very clearly like, no, we want to just be focused on each other. I really believe in that. I don't know if that after some years you look at or months or years, you look at each other again and you both feel very much to change that. But yeah, right now I want to be in commitment. It's also, you see me as a monk in some way. And there have been times that I've seriously contemplated to become a monk. Actually, still quite recently. 1.5 years ago, I was still like, shall I do it? Shall I just really, take on the robes and go on this path and take my mind to full enlightenment without all the distraction? And then I didn't, and a woman appeared, as happens. But right now, as I choose, actually, I feel now much more rooted in my commitment to be in the world. I've explored different possibilities here that are very much something I want to go for. I see the potential for healing and liberation in the world much more clear than ever. I live a very happy life already for a good amount of time now, after a darker period in which I contemplated again to become a monk. So as I now live in the world and I work and I'm behind screens and I interact with a lot of people and I hold space for people also as a coach, mentor, I do retreats, all these things. I find that I don't thrive when I am alone and not in a loving partnership. So for me, it's very clear that I want to be in a partnership. And what I see is that many open relationships, they don't lead to much for a lot of people, especially in the beginning at least. And also almost a logistical factor that there's only so much time to spend. And if all of a sudden you process things with one person, now with two persons, that's something quite different in terms of time investment. So partially very logistical and practical, partially to not mix frequencies and to be focused on one another, partially because it's just so satisfying with this person, which I think is important for monogamy. All these things move me into pursuing for now monogamous relating, committed relating, and I get so much energy from and groundedness also from this commitment. From feeling clear that I want her, and I do know from previous relationships where I've been in monogamy and then open relating that I feel for true monogamy when that it's not something forced. You together do cultivation work. You need to together do your own work to keep it to keep the flame of attraction, of love, of passion, of eroticism, which are so important, all of them. For relationships, for me, for sure, all of those, I want those. I think they need work to be kept alive. And so if they are not alive and you commit to being monogamous, I think you're both going to be not being very happy if that stays for too long like that. Yeah. But the good news is I think that you can cultivate that. You can choose that together. You can choose together to have the sexiness alive, the beauty alive, the playfulness, all these things. Just doesn't happen naturally all the time for everyone.
No.
Yeah.
And kind of in closing, as we come to the end of this this podcast, I've really enjoyed this. We could go on for hours. I mean, this is just such a big subject. But what is it that you get as a man? Like if you were to be telling other men, like I have testimonials for retreats and for coaching, so men can share with other men what they got from the retreat and got from the coaching that benefited them. So relationships, conscious relationships with a woman, with the external feminine, what do you get from that as a man? What does it give you? You kind of spoke into it a little bit just before about what you get from it, but I'm just wondering if you could just make it a lot clearer. Like what are the benefits to you as a man? How do you show up in the world differently? How do you work differently? Does it affect your ability to be more integer in your work? Does it change anything in how you show up in the world? And how does it benefit your spiritual journey?
Oh, wow, this is a big question.
Yeah, I should have asked you this in the beginning.
yeah. As we close, I won't go into a whole lecture about it. I feel it's not so much about I don't really look at it as like this gives me a list of benefits versus being alone. It feels like deeper than that. Than to just think of like putting it on a scale how my life is with or without a partner. It feels like almost more like this is the most natural to actually do this, to actually be in loving relationship. So I'm kind of black and white at this point regarding this. I feel full open-heartedness and like to be fully established in love and a kind of awakened mind. I feel that's kind of the primary orientation of a human life. And I feel I'm kind of black and white that I feel that the two roots for that are either full solitary practice, but then really go to the cave, go to the monastery, go to the ashram, or be in relationship. I feel I'm quite black and white about this at this point.
Right.
What kind of relationship? Go for anything, polyamorous, monogamous, maybe not all the time with someone, maybe you need the time to be by yourself again for a bit, fine. But I think ultimately the time by yourself is again with the goal to come back into relationship. So I'm a bit black and white in that. And why do I think this is so important? Why is it so important for me? I don't have access to this feeling of love purely by myself. I feel it's a portal. A woman can be a portal. The relationship can be the portal. She gives me access to deeper places in my heart. By loving her fully, I start to love the whole world more fully. And by what is required to be able to, I like to call it bathing in her heart. Because I feel like it's just like that I'm bathing in it. It's like a fountain. But that fountain doesn't overflow if she is not being loved with a lot of sacredness, with a lot of devotion. So to have this circulate between him and her, between me and her, between any couple, she will need your utmost integrity and devotion and truth, and that cannot be faked. So you will need to really do your work to be able to have access to that heart that's going to overflow as a fountain onto you. And so when I'm with a woman that I feel devoted to and that I want, or when I'm single, let me know if it's too loud, by the way. If I want to be with a woman, whether I'm still single and I'm looking for her, or whether I have this queen in front of me that I want to devote to, it also, when I'm alone, I am checking in twice with everything I do, even more than when I'm just focused on my solitary practice. Because I know that everything I do by myself will reflect in me energetically, moves in me, and that will be either helping us to rise into love, or that will kind of block flow between us. So it indeed also makes me in a deeper integrity by myself. And it just, I can give a whole list. It empowers my work, it empowers my groundedness in my body, it gives me joy. I mean, how much fun is it to spend loving time with someone? I feel there's almost no, like, what are we here for in a human life? Right? What are we here to do? Well, hopefully we are happy. What are the best moments of happiness that I know? In loving connection with someone, being either, doing something, making love, of course, is peak experience together. Having a text to each other, and when you're not together and you kind of feel so much love just seeing what they read, what they send you. All of that is just so beautiful. So what else are we here for but to love and be loved and enjoy that? Yeah.
That was a perfect answer to the question, and that's a great place to end. I want to thank you so much for your time, and I want to ask, obviously, in the information, we can put your information in there, but where can people find you right now? You're in India. What are you doing there, and what are your plans? What is your work? How can people connect with you if they want to connect with you?
Yeah. So I'm now in India. I'm in Goa for the next 2 months in this beautiful apartment here, from which I continue to give sessions. I take my work with me everywhere I go, unless I'm
And what
myself
kind
on
of
retreat.
sessions are you giving? I know, but
Yeah,
I'm just asking.
So I do mentorships with people that are more meeting based, talking based, where we meet each other in a lot of presence, focused on individual transformation. That I have, after 5 years of doing that, still not the exact description for what we do, but it's based on meeting each other from a lot of presence and finding a space where we can really, where we can really dive deep, to go into blockages, knots, hidden desires, hidden fears, getting clarity on where you want to go, kind of going to the root causes of your whole life together. That is deeply transformative if you do that well together. So this is what I do with people one-on-one. And that's usually with people that just feel deep resonance, that feel like I have something to learn from you. And that's usually where the mentorships are potent. I also work with people privately. I'm a yoga teacher. I'm deep into yoga practice. So I do private yoga mentorships with people, help them establish practice, yoga, meditation, pranayama, lifestyle, diet. I give retreats in Portugal. This summer, I will do a very beautiful retreat around intimacy that I cannot share all the details from yet. It will be end of June in France. And so and I give also regular online group sessions, meditations. People can meet me there. You can find all this info on my website, thomasmathias.com. Thomas with TH, Matthias with TH. And you can find me on Instagram _Thomas Mathias. And I also have a YouTube where I have also videos. That's mostly my online real estate.
Right.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to introduce that. And thank you so much for inviting me. And for all the beautiful introduction you gave me earlier, and you know, for being a beautiful brother that I so much appreciate. I'm very grateful to have you part of my life, part of my circle, and yeah, it was really good to speak to you. So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I can absolutely recommend you. I don't recommend many men because I hate men. No, I have if a man doesn't have the integrity that that I myself would be inspired by, I would not inspire anyone else, because we're in the same field, but not everyone's going to resonate with me and not everyone's going to resonate with you. There's a gift that we can both bring. So I want to say any men or women that are feel resonance, because women also listen to this podcast, feel resonance with Thomas and the way he's speaking. Yeah, get in contact with him, and I can absolutely recommend him and his integrity as a man for working with women. I think it's really important that women know that they can be safe with a male coach, because a male coach or a male guide can bring something very different. So I want women to know that I can absolutely recommend Thomas in this way, and I don't recommend many men in this field. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Have a beautiful day, brother.
Thank you, brother. We'll be in touch.